The David Kessel video is on the Feel website. What I didn't say is that David was a mental health activist for many years, including with some people in this room. And he was a big part of Friends of East End Loonies, and that video is on their website, or their YouTube, I think, website. I don't think David Emery's video is accessible, but maybe we can find a way of getting it out there too. Okay, Roger Mills, thank you.
Is it going to fall over? Yes. It's a good start, isn't it? Hiya. Yeah, thank you. I knew both the Davids, but I'm just going to read a poem by David Kessel today. Well, first, I knew David Kessel for years and years and years, but for the most part, I'd see him from the mid-70s till the 80s. Amongst other places, quite regularly at the Hackney Writers' Workshop, which was based at Centerprise Community Bookshop and Centre in Dalston. And we'd always end up after the reading, after meeting in a pub somewhere in Dalston Junction. So my abiding memory of times with David Kessel are sort of sitting at a pub table, surrounded by empty bottles and ropey beer, and cigarette ash sort of skimming across the surface of the table. And I'm glad that they've got this picture of David Kessel smiling there, because we always think of him as a very serious person, which he was, a serious person, a serious poet, but along with other people in the workshop, and Howard Mingham, another great poet who's gone beyond, we'd have great laughs, usually about politics and things like that. One week deciding that it was only a matter of weeks before we were living in a Marxist paradise, the very next week thinking that Britain was slipping into fascism. So we'd have a good laugh about that. So this one, this was Sean's idea of a poem I should read. It's a tricky one though, so thanks Sean for that. But I'll try and get it right. It's called Mike Mosley. Grey, calloused, forgotten at 50, he has given his all, his wiry heart, his skilled locked fingers, his chipped backbone, his broken, welding language for this choking fag, this dark, blinding pint, this scouring Irish lament. Scorned, down for a bundle in bird, forsaken by wives and the DHSS. Shy of nothing, except himself, to this bare room, phlegm and loneliness between stubborn slums and useless sirens. Driven by fury to this back ward, wasted, ulcered, unforgiving. I start here to make anew the happiness of children playing beneath heeding, enduring gulls in a wooded, tempered land. That's Dave Kessel. Thank you.
Some music of sorts. We have Paul Romaine.
Feedback, is it? I'm going to try and play some harmonic around and read from the other book. So I tried it earlier with this one, it does work. Chaos. I'll forgo how I met my wife, but basically it was at East Beat and just about old. Yeah, so I'm a harmonica player. I used to play with at East Beat and Upbeat. So I just improvise, I think.
Leaving harbour is a slow release from the twin arms of future and past, living and dead, origin and end. Following the sun channel, due west, before circling the breakwater, south, then east out towards open sky. Here lands level to a line, and time is tightened to a tick between two blue immensities. Suspended miles from the crack, miles above the crack, where continents still retch apart by infinitesimal degrees. Thank you.
I forgot to say that thanks to Barney, the music we had before the event and in the break are music that both David Kessel and David Amery like. Thanks, Barney. Okay, I'm just sort of vaguely random here. How about Cristina Viti? Thank you.
I didn't know David Amery as well as I might have wished, although I was, I think, at Kingsley Hall when I saw, as well as hearing, what he could do with paint and words. But mostly, of the two Davids, I knew David Kessel better. Through seeing him the first time, I think it was all of 17, 18 years ago at a reading, and being completely struck by this contrast, by this tension, no? Between that presence that could be so forbidding and this incredible gentleness that you couldn't help noticing. And then we became friends, and he came to visit at my house and used to sit in the garden smoking rollies with my sons. One of whom came very seriously afterwards and said, "You can have a conversation with David," which, you know, from a worldly wise teenager is quite something, I think. But my house was at the time near one of David's, in fact, I think possibly his first childhood home in Willesden Green. And we always had this plan to go and see the place. So I want to read the poem that he wrote about the place. I remember his memories of selling the Socialist Worker on Willesden High Street with his mother and this great love that he had for her. And it's in the ivy, this very beautiful old pamphlet. Willesden High Street. I don't know whether I found first red roses at dusk or a blackbird at daybreak. Dirty walls like broken grieving. The hunger of heaven in this laboured street. Aching love for mum, thirsty beneath a black sky. Youth's desperate meaning, the asylum of childhood. From the sorcery of a pub, a Gaelic lament. Sex given for blood in damp rooms, a sacrament holier than sacred broken bread. How can we live without calm memories, where the strident gutter meets tired workers under savage sky? The possessed cries of lovers behind the graveyard, and the summer smell of lilac from a scrapyard. I was always struck by the sense of urban wildlife, how much of the non-human presence you can find in David's poems, and it was as if he understood that, or he felt that the non-human friends that we have in the city are those who take our dreams out of the city, and they make our life get space, in the inner space that we lack, and we are threatened with shrinking by corporate realities. But of course I thought I was going to remember perfectly well all the poems. But this one is one that he dedicated to, or in memory of Keith Douglas, and it's called The Weald. Sink yourself in the earth, its rough grit, its bitterness, its worm-milked leaf. Feel the claw between bent fingers and the hard clay within old shoes. The line of the earth against the evening sky. Breaking bread beneath a pollard willow, a hedger dreams a hard broken land. In his face a March wind and the cry of the lapwing over the marsh. Before he was born he lived with a crow in this bare field, sleet in his eyes and stones in his gizzard. The crow's halting, low, warning flight, his midwife. As a kid he fished in the ditch with stern mind. Now, grimly, he plots the dark, rainy field, listening to rabbit, owl, and vixen. In rough hands he grips a wild time, and a gutting winter lays bare a field of rape and his grey, bare home. All the hate and the love for this chill, grafted home.
And now, forgive me, I forgot your last name, Smudge, who's an old friend of David Amery's.
Hello. When David died, we'd been friends for over 42 years. I'll read one of his very, very early poems. We met in 1978, and we were working in a soup kitchen on Cable Street, and you will understand why this had so much impact on me. It's called Elfish After. Aldgate has no green leaves to make a song of. On the 18th of December 1977, he was found beaten to death with a gas cylinder in a car park in Commercial Street. His face a mess. Amazement at this has me speechless. Amazement at that still has me speechless. When we first met, I don't think David and I had any idea that we would remain sort of lifelong friends, really, although I think we probably understood something of each other. We had both grown up within the constraints of the Methodist Church, and I think Nick made the comment that there was a mixture of David who was quite traditional and also very rebellious, and I recognised that in him too. Over the 42 years, we did many things together. We lived together, we worked together, we went on holidays together, we cycled together. We went to see Bruce Springsteen together. He took me to see Ed Dawn speak at the Poetry Centre in Earl's Court. But the abiding memory I have of David was the final holiday we took together. When we very first met at the end of the
70s, David introduced me to American writers, and Shaw made reference to David's love of the beat writers. He introduced me to On the Road, and I know there are various views about that now. But we decided in 1979 that we would go on a road trip to America. This trip took over 40 years to come to fruition. And in 2019, David rang me up and said, when are we going to do this? Are we going to wait until we're retired? And somewhat uncharacteristically for me, I'm usually quite cautious about this sort of stuff, I said, let's do it. Let's do it while we can. So he came over to my flat. I live on the Isle of Wight. He came to spend the weekend with me. And I was on the verge of booking the flights. And my finger was hovering over the mouse. And David said, no, he said, wait, I need to go home and check something. I knew what this meant. 2 weeks later, he wrote to me with an itinerary for the entire holiday, accommodation, flights, everything booked. That was his gift to me, if you like. And we went to the hometowns of Charles Olson, Herman Melville, Emily Dickinson, and Jack Kerouac. We did things we always dreamed we would do. We really did shoot pool in a bar. We drank Budweiser, and we ordered eggs over easy. Fantastic.
Wow.
The other thing that really struck me about David was his intellect. And he wore that intellect very, very lightly. He never used his knowledge to, make himself look clever, but rather to enhance other people's lives. He was a very, very, very bright guy, and he taught me more things than I can begin to tell you about. But what I want to leave you with is a very little known fact about David, is that he and I composed a poem together in the 1980s. This was sent to the New Statesman in response to a poetry competition, and the rules for this were very, very strict indeed. The first line had to be nonsense, it had to be libelous, and it had to be humorous. Looking around the room, this may strike a cultural reference with some of you, but it's basically a reference to the alleged relationship between Valerie Singleton and Joan Armatrading. I'll leave you with this. Rumpety bumpety, Valerie Singleton, lover of Joan, but kept under wraps, now advises on money, which isn't as funny as making kids' toys out of old scraps. Thank you.
That was great. That was great to hear those memories. And Ed Dorn, that's great. I mean, both of these poets, their poetry did not go far enough into the world, although this room is kind of